Osho, The Messiah, Volume 1, Reflections on Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, given at the Osho Commune International, Pune, India. Discourse number 1.
Commentaries by Bhagavan SHREE Rajnish on Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. Al-Mustafa, the chosen and the beloved, who was adorned unto his own day, had waited 12 years in the city of the Orphalese for his ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. And in the 12th year, on the 7th day of Eliol, the month of reaping, he climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming with the mist. Then the gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea, and he closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart, "How shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in the spirit shall I leave this city. Long were the days of pain I have spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from his pain and his aloneness without regret? Too many fragments of the spirit have I scattered in these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked among these hills, and I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. Nor is it a thought I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst.
Khalil Gibran the very name brings so much ecstasy and joy that it is impossible to think another name comparable to him. Just hearing the name bells start ringing in the heart, which do not belong to this world. Khalil Gibran is pure music. A mystery that only poetry can sometimes grasp it, but only sometimes. you have chosen a man who is the most beloved of this beautiful earth. Centuries have passed. There have been great men. But Khalil Gibran is a category in himself. And I cannot conceive that even in the future there is a possibility of another man of such deep insight into human heart, into the unknown that surrounds us. He has done something impossible. He has been able to bring at least few fragments of the unknown into human language. He has raised human language and human consciousness as no other man has ever done. It seems through Khalil Gibran all the mystics, all the poets, all creative souls have joined hands and poured themselves. Although he has been immensely successful in reaching people, still he feels it is not the whole truth. Just a glimpse. But to see the glimpse of truth is the beginning of a pilgrimage that leads you to the ultimate, to the absolute, to the universal. Another beautiful man, Claude Bragdon, has said about Khalil Gibran few beautiful words. He says his power came from some great reservoir of his spiritual life, else it could not have been so universal and so potent but the majesty and beauty of his language with which he clothed it were all his own. I have always loved the statement of Bragdon, even though not agreeing with it. One need not agree with a beautiful flower. One need not agree with the sky full of stars, but one can still appreciate. I make a clear-cut distinction between agreement and appreciation. And a man is civilized if he can make the distinction. If he cannot make the distinction, he is still living in a primitive, uncivilized state of consciousness. I agree in a sense, because whatever he is saying is so beautiful. Hence my appreciation. But I cannot agree, because whatever he is saying is simply guesswork. It is not his own experience. Have you noted? He says his power came from some great reservoir of spirituality, of spiritual life. Else it could not have been so universal and so potent. It is rational, logical, but it has no roots in experience. He feels that something beyond the grasp of mind has come through Khalil Gibran, but he is not certain, and he cannot be certain because it is not his experience. He is immensely impressed by the beautiful language each word is a poetry unto itself. But he himself is unaware of that great reservoir of spirituality. He himself has not tasted it. He has loved Khalil Gibran, but he has not lived him. With me, the situation is totally different. Hence, few things I would like to say to you before I make my commentaries on the statements of Khalil Gibran. First, he is certainly a great poet. Perhaps the greatest that has ever born on the earth. But he is not a mystic. And there is a tremendous difference between a poet and a mystic. The poet once in a while suddenly finds himself in the same space as the mystic. In those rare moments, roses sour over him. In those rare occasions, he is almost a Gautam Buddha. But remember, I'm saying almost. These rare moments come and go. He is not the master of those rare moments. They come like the breeze and the fragrance, and by the time you have become aware, they are gone. A poet's genius is that he catches those moments into words. Those moments come into your life too. They are free gifts of existence. Or, in other words, glimpses to provoke in you a search to come to a moment when this space will become your very life, your blood, your bones, your marrow. You will breathe it, your heart will beat it, you will never be able to lose it, even if you want to. The poet is for moments a mystic, and the mystic is a poet forever. But this has always created a very difficult question. And nobody has been able to solve it. But I have a humble solution. The problem has been posed again and again, thousands of times, all over the world, that if the poet gets only glimpses, yet creates so much beauty, so much poetry, words start becoming alive the moment he touches them. Why the mystics have not been able to produce the same kind of poetry? They are 24 hours, day in, day night, in that creative state. But their words don't carry that beauty. Even the words of Gautam Buddha or Jesus Christ fall very much short than the words like Khalil Gibran, Michael Nemi, Rabindranath Tagore. It certainly seems to be strange, because the people who have only moments create so much, and the people who have the universal consciousness available to them, waking or sleeping, what happens? Why they have not been able to produce Khalil Gibran's, and nobody has answered it. My own experience is that if a beggar finds a gold mine, he will sing and he will dance and he will go mad with joy, but not an emperor. A poet once in a while becomes the emperor, but only once in a while. That's why he cannot take it for granted. But the mystic is not for a moment merged with the universal consciousness. He is merged. There is no way